Here we are, party people. Business meeting part 2. A couple things I forgot to say in the first business meeting. And of course, it's not too bad to have a couple business meetings a year. Help us understand how we can get things worked out together. Anyway, one thing I forgot to mention, if you're watching, some of you guys just watch every day just to help me with my YouTube channel, income, stuff like that. I don't know how the income actually works other than they place ads and those ads pay Google and Google shares that with me. Number 2, you have people that have YouTube Red where they don't get ads, but because they pay and they watch my video, I get a small portion of that too. So either way, however, there's a thing called an algorithm that is activated when people interact with the video. The higher the percentage of that interaction is, the better that video will come up in searches and stuff like that. I say that to say this. Please like or dislike the video. Doesn't matter to me. Both of them triggers algorithms. Dislikes can be controversial, which does the algorithm good as well. Also, comments. I know some of you guys leave small comments daily. Not that you really have something that you wanted to say or share, but just to help the video in the algorithm scheme. I appreciate that. So like, dislike, or comment, share. Those things help that video get more views in the algorithm scheme of things. Another thing I want to mention, I've got a couple of messages from a couple of people that are expecting me and want my help. I haven't read the whole messages. I haven't got into it because my plan is what it is. I've already got my plan set that I'm going to do for the next month, and that's how it's going to fall out. However, I do care about you getting your car fixed. I want to fix it. However, as many of you know, I'm just one person in one place, so I can't do it all. So this is a little bit of where I'm at to help some of you guys understand that I'm not going to skip rope to get to you, and I don't mean that in any kind of way. It's just what it is. Now, somewhere around October or November of 2021, there were people that were making arrangements with me to get with them to do stuff on their vehicle. 1 or 2 people in particular had legitimate needs for their vehicle, and they didn't have 12 vehicles. So this is like a vehicle that they really need. One very gracious, patient viewer friend of mine, name is Greg. He's in the New York area. I took his engine apart in like the beginning of November 2021. I was supposed to get back to him in April of 22 to put that engine back together. He was fine with that engine being apart for 4 months. This is a year and more later. This is 13 months past that. I still haven't got back to New York to put Greg's engine back together. That is not fair to Greg. Now he's having to hire other mechanics to get involved in that. And of course, they're probably not as affordable with me. They don't understand the process of that as well as I do. So hopefully this thing gets done in a decent way for Greg. However, Greg was patiently waiting. We talk because we're adults. I know that I left Greg in a bad place. I know that I left Cleve in a uncompleted state, but these people are gracious. Cleve has other vehicle he could drive. His vehicle's drivable, but Greg's is not drivable. He's been without a car for a year. So I stumbled across Lemonade December of 2021. I planned a trip and took appointments to do work before I left Cincinnati. 2021, very beginning of 2022. When I left Cincinnati to pick up that car in the Seattle area, I had maybe 6 people that wanted me to help them in between Seattle and Cincinnati. I had my friend Betsy, she lives in Cincinnati. I had my friend in Oklahoma City. I had my friend in Las Vegas. I had a couple people in California, one person in the Portland area, and a guy in Texas. That's like 6 to 8 people. When I left Cincinnati, got to Seattle, if I would have stayed in schedule, I would have took care of 6 to 8 people. I would have got back to Cincinnati with enough time to get with the guy in New York, put his engine back together, take care of 3 or 4 other people that had manual swaps planned for the spring of 2022, and had these people taken care of. However, since I was on the West Coast, and I don't come on the West Coast often, I tried to help more people while I was there. This list grew into 65, 68 people. Now, some of you, I have gotten together and helped. Most of the people I helped, it worked out great. There is a couple people that it didn't work out great for, and mostly a couple of people that want me to come, and I squoze them in, did a few things, but didn't do everything they want. And I told these people, hey, when I get my car back to Cincinnati, that will complete my phase 1 of 2022. And then I need to take care of people out east, which is phase 2 of 2022. Then I will come back out here for phase 3 and help you guys with more stuff. I'm still in phase 1, and people are sweating me about phase 3. It doesn't bother me, and I'm not upset about it. I just want you to understand that you're in phase 3 and I'm still in phase 1. If you need that stuff taken care of, use the videos, take care of it yourself, find another mechanic, get it taken care of. I understand that you got to take care of your business. If I can, I'll help. If I have other people that are in a bad spot before you, I'm at the position now where I need to go help these people get that stuff done, because that's what's fair to them. They booked me in 2021, not 3 months ago. So that's where I'm at on that. I hope you guys understand. Another thing I wanted to mention is I still am not in a position to be able to view text videos. My phone is just not good at text videos. Don't waste your time texting me a video. Upload the video somewhere, send me the link. I'll be glad to look at it, help you any way I can. And I do have a couple of mechanics that help me get through giving people good advice or technical support or help with P2 cars and P3 cars and stuff like that. So even though those are not my cup of tea, I'm still able to get people through some of those challenges. So that's that. I appreciate you guys' patience. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your support. A couple people joined the Patreon side, and I really appreciate you guys that are already there supporting me through Patreon and other methods. Sometimes I open up my mailbox, there's a check in the mail for 20 bucks. You know, sometimes I open up my PayPal, there's somebody PayPal me something. There's people that order parts that cost 10 bucks and they tip me 5 or 10 bucks. That's all great. I guess the last thing I want to do is just remind people that there's expenses in doing business. You know, I have a person that wanted me to pick up a car, which I'm glad to do. It'll cost me money to get to the place to pick the car up. It'll cost me money to get the car back to where I need the car to be. It'll cost me money to service the car. And a car that somebody charges me 250 bucks may end up costing me 2,000 before that car is in the position to donate or transfer to another person. Do understand that if you buy a cheap car, you got to go get it those expenses just rack up. You buy a car for $500, that car is probably going to end up costing you $2,500 before you're comfortable driving that thing around. So that's that. Hope you enjoyed today's clips. There's really some good information in there. Have a great day and a pleasant weekend. Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert. That's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you can click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. Ended the video yesterday finishing up on making sure these latches worked. Of course, we replaced the latches because we had to pull these out and put a piece of metal in there so those latches can make good contact. We used the epoxy JB weld to glue them closed. We hooked them up and tested them, and they all tested good. So we're putting the door panels back together so that we can get this car back on the road. Couple latches in. I got the anti-tamper panels in, which is good. I had glued up these door panels. I got a couple of these pins I need to install in them and snap those back together. Let's keep this train rolling. Almost every time you remove these door panels, man, you have major issues with the panel falling apart. So they have a couple parts. I glued all that together. I glued it back in the frame of it, but this vinyl shrinking and pulling away from the panel is something you really can't do nothing about. They have a modification where a guy makes some kind of inserts that you put in there, screw in there. The best option is to find these door panels out of a V70R. From 98 to 2000, those V70Rs have door panels that have leather pockets in this area. Those are good panels to use instead of these. Don't have all this crazy vinyl stuff. Another thing is those door pin grommets deteriorate, melt away, fall apart, fall down in the door. Here's one here, just sun, weather, beaten, whatever. You see how bad that is. You can buy those at Swedish Car Parts and maybe some other places. They're pretty cheap, but you can get that solved that way. I did not have my brake fluid tester, so I looked down in here and it looked like this was horrible because there was sludge down in this filter. Then I pulled the filter out, pulled a little brake fluid out, and this stuff actually looks pretty good. I doubt it needs to be replaced, so I'm not going to replace it, but next time I come here in a couple months, I'm going to bring my tester, test it just to make sure. So it's good to check these filters, clean them out every once in a while. Cleaned it out with brake parts cleaner. Check your fluid, snap that back in place, and make sure you have good brake fluid, but it's best to get that stuff tested. You don't want old brake fluid. It absorbs water, messes up your calipers and stuff when the water content gets so high, and it can cause you to lose your braking power. So keep your brake fluid tested and in good shape. One of the things I think we should do as guys is check over the vehicles that are at our location. I mean, primarily at our home, our mom's homes, maybe our sisters, women that mean something to our lives. I think we need to check out the tires on their cars, look out for them. And here, real quickly, I'm going to show you what you need to look for and what you need to be aware of. There's a gentleman here that put these tires on just a couple years ago. Tires, a lot of people don't know, they actually have dates on them. It has the week and the year. 06 is the week, so that's sometime in February. The year 2019. These tires are only 4 years old. Most people would think they're good because they have good tread. However, if you look close, you'll see separation happening in the tires. That rubber's starting to separate. There's cracks along the sidewalls of the tire. These tires are basically dry rotted in 4 years. There's a lot of cracks there. There's cracking all along here. And when I looked, I see bulging in the sidewall. If you run your finger along the sidewall, you can feel there's bulging going around the tire in a couple of places. This one you can see plainly. These are some very inexpensive tires. People think, man, I paid 30 bucks, 50 bucks a tire. I got out of the tire shop for 200 bucks. I did good. But when the tires start dry rotting in just 3 years, they become slick on wet surfaces and therefore become unsafe. Tires is your first line of safety when you're driving an automobile. I don't play with tires. Always good tires. Spend the money. It's worth it. So, there you are. Quick lesson on tires. You want to check the pressure. Make sure the pressure is what is indicated for that vehicle. Somewhere between 28 and 34 psi. You want to check the tires and make sure there's no cracking in the sidewall, cracking in the tread area. You want to glance at the tread to make sure that it's not wearing unevenly. And you want to make sure that, of course, it has tread. They're not bald, because when tires get dry rotted, when they get bald, they become very unsafe. Some people even hit their brakes in dry pavement and slide into somebody in front of them. In some cases, if you have tires that are dry rotted, cracking, just in bad shape, you could actually have a blowout on the interstate somewhere. Hit something in the road, have a blowout, get a flat tire. That stuff is not only unsafe, but it's a big inconvenience when you're trying to get from A to B in a timely manner and safely. So you don't want to overlook bad tires. Get them replaced as soon as possible. So your tires is your first line of safety in driving automobiles. Check the tires and be safe. Back here with this V70R 98 model. Got the jack stand under that point right there. We're going to pull the wheel off and see how difficult it's going to be to get these shocks and springs out of here without chipping up these wheels. We got the wheel chock, the parking brake on, which does work. We got the spring right here that we need to get loose. We got the top of the shock loose. We're going to take the bolts out of the bottom of the shock, which will drop that shock down and release that shock spacer thing right there. So I'll have to get that nut off of there and see if there's anything else I need to do to get that little metal piece out of there, that bracket, so I can change the bolts in that. Got the two 15mm nuts off of those. These struts should fall down, so let me try to get these lever mats to fall down out of there. They're already loose up top. Took the 10mm nut off of there that held the parking brake cable in position, and then I used a pry bar to pry this out, which let the strut fall down almost out of the way. And now I got to see if I can pry this suspension down enough to get this spring out of here. Have put the jack stand under the frame of the car there in front of all the suspension stuff, because you need to take these bolts out of this suspension stuff so it can fall down enough to get that spring out. I'm going to pull those 3 bolts out and see if I can pry this spring out of here. Took all 4 of those bolts out, the 3/17 and that 18. All this stuff is sagging down. Now I'm going to try to pry this spring out of here and pull it out toward the front. If it'll come out, I'll let you guys know what happens. Once you got that like that, the easiest thing I could see to do is put a bottle jack here, jack down that upper control arm against the subframe there, and that drops out enough for you to maneuver this out of here, I think. Let me jack it just a little bit more so I can get that out of there and set the new one in place. If you have the new bump stops, put the new bump stops in the hats there. Put those in there, turn the spring around on the spring stop, and then lower it in place. And there's a little pad piece down there that has a spring stop too, so you may want to pull that off of there, put it on the new spring, and lower it down in there. I set the bottom of the spring in there with the padding, uncranked the jack until it fell in place. Now I gotta tap these out of here. I put the bolts down on there. I put it in the socket. I'm gonna hit it with my sledge. Hopefully it'll pop out of these brackets. They got some different bolts they want put in here. I have a special press to get these out. So what I did is got the biggest pair of vice grips I had. I vice gripped it right where you see the screw gets wider. I took that vice grip, set it up on top of a big socket like that. Then I put a screwdriver on top of this piece right here like this, because it could get in between that thin area. Then I hit the back of the screwdriver with my sledgehammer, and that broke that screw loose. Now I'm going to wiggle it out of there and move on to the next one. Now, according to the instructions, you put that spacer back in place. You put these supplied nuts in there. You put these under the spacer to bolt that to the bottom of the lower control arm. Then you slide the strut over the two nuts that you were supplied, and you take these nuts that was on the original piece and screw those on there. So these nuts that was on this piece originally should screw on here. They should be the same thread pitch. So this is basically the safe extension of your lower. It's almost an inch there, and I put these in here like this. I'm gonna put that in the car. I'm gonna run those up from the bottom, and then I'm going to attach that. Then I'm gonna raise the shock back up in the bottom of the car and bolt those on there as well. These bolts are 17 up top, probably a 25 millimeter or 1 inch on the bottom. I couldn't get my 14 millimeter over there, my 15/16. I think it's the next size up. I don't have one, so I'm gonna try to use my adjustable jaw to reach up there and secure these. It's a little bit awkward screwing those bolts in. You really have to lift the strut up, hold the strut up in the air so you don't have the fat part of that Neva mat down there by the bolts. Then you can get a tool on there, tighten that with that aluminum nut they gave you, front and back. Don't really have enough room to get a full tool under there. Then I lifted this shock up and put the nuts on the bottom of it. Now the top of the shock is not quite going through the shock mount up top, so I'm gonna have to raise the suspension a little bit to get that shock high enough to set this shock mount on there and put that nut on there. It's about an inch too low right now. So let us work on getting some of this stuff together on the bottom, and then we'll come up top and put that in place. Now I'm gonna put that 18 in there, get that started, get these 3 17 started. Then I'll tighten up and torque down the 18, tighten up and torque down the 17s, and then get that shock up top secure. These are always tricky to get in like a Chinese jigsaw puzzle, but I got those 3 17s torqued down, 18 torqued down. I got that 10 millimeter back on that brake line bracket, and we are ready to put the wheel on and drop this car. Make sure we tighten that bolt up top for the shock, and this side will be done. We're going to work on the other side. When you have wheels that you don't want to scuff up the finish on, you want to get a thin walled socket. That way you protect yourself from scuffing up the wheels. And I got that snug down. Now I got to torque them. But I'm going to see if I can get this shock in up top first before I let this down. While I was lowering the car down, I went in here, made sure that the shock came into position properly up top. I lowered the car all the way down. I put that nut on top of the shock and secured it with an impact wrench. You could torque it down. Now I'm ready to go to the other side. After I put that dust cap back on, that's right there. So we're going to put the lowering springs on the front. So I'm going to remove this front wheel, remove the strut assembly, unpack the strut assembly with the strut tools I got from AutoZone, remove the strut. Hopefully the spring seat will be good. Remove the springs, put all that stuff back together, and reinstall it on the vehicle. Spring compressor tool from AutoZone. Bam, OEM. Once you have the tools in place and you're ready to start compressing the springs, you got the pins locked in, you really should lay these down on the ground and compress the springs with the assemblies on the ground working horizontal to you. That way, if something happens and these things come loose, they will go that way or that way. If these things go up, they can really hurt you, hurt somebody, probably kill you. I've heard of somebody having one of these get away from them, and they were out in the driveway, and when the thing let loose, the spring flew over the house and landed in the backyard. You could really kill yourself if these get loose. But it's really not a hazard if you just do it right. So I'm getting ready to compress these. I see already that this lower washer is loose. That means that nut under there is super loose. So when I break that loose, everything may come loose. So let me go ahead and compress these springs, then take that bolt loose up there. I'm a little bit surprised and disappointed with what I got going on here. I'm still not loose from the springs, removing these pieces because I need to put them on the new lowering springs. And I still got tension on these things. I might have to screw them all the way out, which would suck. And they're about to be tensionless, but that's a little scary. And I think people have been using this with impact and stuff and not lubricating them because the heads of those is sunk down into the tool. Anyway, let me take these loose a little more and try to get these off of these springs. Here's the difference between the size of these springs. It's almost 2 full coils. Anyway, I may not have to compress those much, but let me get them on the strut, get this thing packed together, and get this done. This R spring has orange paint on it. It's a 98 V70R. At the wheel back on the ground, strange thing on this was somebody broke the pin off that holds the rotor onto the hub. You know, the one that sometimes sticks out on these cars. It's broke off in the hub. So other than that, everything went smooth. We're going to move the car over a couple inches, measure both sides, and then install them on the other side. Here we go on the back. The lower side is 25 inches now to the body, and the stock ride height is 25.5 inches. So it lowered the back a ½ inch. The front, the height there is 25.5 inches stock, and lowered 24 and probably 7/8. So lowered the back ½ inch, lowered the front 3/4 of an inch. Picked up a UV flashlight, 1 clicks flashlight, 2 clicks flashlight off, 3rd clicks UV light, and it's like a blue purple. So you shine it up in there where your evaporator is, and anything that looks fluorescent green is leaking. So you see a lot of fluorescent green in there. The evaporator is going to need to be replaced. See, regular flashlight, you really can't see it. It just looks like a pretty clean evaporator. But when you put UV on it, you see all that green light up in there. That's your leak from your refrigerant that's had leak detection dye put in there. So this car's going to have an evaporator. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.